I was going to leave. I was going to go overseas. But then I stopped and I thought, what am I running away from?
Tobias Diamondopoulos is a renowned entrepreneur in the Australian hospitality industry. He has founded 6 businesses in the condiments and premium dining scene.
I had to literally break down every preconceived concept of like what I thought we were here to do, because I thought we were here to run a restaurant. It's not. We were here to build a family.
From his elegant sashimi bar Esca to his exotic African-inspired condiment, Rafiki, Tobias's bold approach keeps setting new standards in hospitality.
I've been bankrupt. It's like, that was rough. Do you know what I mean? I was young and I was bankrupt because I just made every mistake in the book. I drove customers away because I didn't appreciate them. We went from having a really, really busy restaurant, and one step at a time, I killed that thing.
Did you want to quit?
So many times.
You have a product called Rafiki.
Yes.
And this isn't a plug, it's actually fucking amazing. It's like crack for your breakfast.
I used to think the food was the be all and end all. Now I think it's less than 50%. The food has to be good as a standard. Like, you can't serve rubbish and expect people to keep coming back. But
I would like to welcome my dear friend Tobias to the Agency Podcast.
pleasure to be here.
So the hospitality scene is, like, from my experience, notorious for failure.
Yes.
And we were looking at some of the stats of the risk of failure in 2025, and it's 1 in 11 are at risk of failure. In your opinion, why is it that so many businesses in hospitality fail, and what separates the survivors?
Oh, okay. It is a hard industry. It's got low margins and you got to put a lot of physical hours into it. I think it's a tough industry because it's consistently evolving. There's so many moving parts, and it's something that is forever dynamic, like the food industry. People's wants, people's needs, people's dining habits, people's budgets, everything is constantly changing. So I think the ones that separate it from the best are the people that really live and breathe hospitality, because I think it's a thing where a lot of people give it a go, but the guys and girls, the amazing people out there have hospitality. When they say they have hospitality in their blood, they do. They really do. These are people that they wake up every day and they serve, and they meet people's needs like nobody else. And the greatest venues are the ones that really show up and deliver that.
For you, was there an experience in particular that gave you that bug for hospitality?
Oh, yeah. So I was fortunate. My dad is a hotel general manager. Okay. So he lived overseas, moved away when I was 6, and I would go visit him once a year and he would come visit us once a year. So he lived in Malaysia, in Dubai, Singapore, Russia, Hong Kong. So I got to experience, I fell in love with the hotel when I would go and stay there because I saw the back end operations. I was fascinated with a single building that had so many special moments going on at one time. You would walk in, people would be on holiday, they would be having dinners, there would be weddings, there'd be events, there would be like a date night, an anniversary, and all these special moments were going. And I had the pleasure of following my dad around and watching him orchestrate and facilitate these moments. And he was the conductor of this ship that was going on the whole time. And I saw the start, the finish of these events, and it just lit me up inside, and I wanted to be able to bring those things to people.
So you were at the age of 6 traveling abroad, experiencing hospitality in different countries.
Yeah, well, different cultures. I think cultures was the thing that really opened it up. Just seeing different people live different ways. It's like you can be so narrow focused when you come, like being in Australia and being in one city and not traveling. But then when you see the different cultures, the different foods, the different ways that people celebrate together, it changes it just opened my mind and got me really excited about it.
And, you know, looking at it from the outside in, when I went to the Gold Coast to your cafe, Rafiki, which is in Mermaid Beach.
Yep.
It just seemed like you're in your natural elements. It seemed that you were vibing and saying hello to people that you probably see every morning. There's definitely an energy to that place. I've been to a lot of cafes, but that place felt like a little beach nightclub in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone has their dogs. Everyone has their athleisure wear on, and everyone's just vibing out and getting ready for their day.
Totally. And that's like even Rafiki, it's like to be honest, we don't do anything special. We serve toasted sandwiches, smoothies, and coffee. What we decided that we were going to focus on is we wanted to have we keep referring that we wanted to have a cheers bar. We wanted to have a place where people can, because Rafiki means friend in Swahili. So we wanted to have a place where people could come and hang out, because what you serve will always change and evolve and adapt. But the way that you make people feel when they get there is the thing that they come back for. That's the thing they remember, because you will forget a meal that you had, but you'll never forget the way that somebody made you feel. And when you have that fall inside you and creep inside you, it draws you across the street. It brings people in, and then that energy just permeates.
So did it start off that easy for you, or like when you go back to the start of your career?
No.
How did you even get okay, so at the age of 6, you were traveling the globe, experiencing different cultures with your father in these different countries in the hotel scene. At what point were you like, I want to start working in this space? You started to pick up a knack for it.
Well, I actually fell into it. So I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was at school. I actually thought I wanted to be a personal trainer. I was just like, oh, well, I'll just give that a go, because I sucked at school. I was not really interested in anything. I couldn't really focus on things. And then I went for a job offer. It was a chicken shop or it was a sushi shop. And the chicken shop was paying really well. You got a free can of Coke. Or the sushi shop was paying not as well as the chicken shop, but it just had this energy about it. And I was like, I want to work there. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I want to work there. And that's where I met my business partner. I was 15 at the time, and she owned the shop. She had 4 of them, and it just sucked me in. And I experienced this team, this family, this culture that was just so much bigger. It was two tiny little sushi shops in the middle of a shopping center, but the energy that would come out of this place, literally the shopping center was renowned for these sushi shops, because everyone knew that you would just come there to have a good time. We would sit in the middle of the food court and we would blast the music, and like everyone would just come and hang out. And that sort of like gave me the bug to be like, oh, this is really, I want to do more of this. So yeah, and then that just started the journey.
So how did you guys end up being business partners?
Well, my business partner Roz, I worked for her when I was 15, and then started learning from her, and then I started managing the shops and got in, and I was managing multiple shops, and then we moved from the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane, and then we tried a few other businesses, because why the hell not? Give it a go. And we were selling building supplies online. We would try to build a website before, when it was really hard to build a website. And then an opportunity came up to open up a big restaurant, and we decided to give it a go. We decided to become coffee roasters, and we were not coffee roasters. So we had to learn very, very quickly. And yeah, at about 23, took a massive loan out against mum's house, bought in, and then sort of started the journey of learning and failing.
Was your mum warning you about anything in particular when you were doing that?
My dad was.
Okay.
My dad was very, go to school, go to university. Like that was the world that he grew up in. He was a scholar. He knew what he wanted to do. Like university was the path, get a degree, get your piece of paper. That's what he said. And he never really understood what we were doing or how this was progressing and where we were moving along to. And mum is just the most easygoing person. She was like, go for it, son. You've got this. So from mum's perspective, and I live with mum, so that was, she pushed me along the entire time. And that was just mum's unwavering support of just, you'll work it out. Go get it. Go get started. You'll get it sorted. And then, because I tried to do uni and working at the same time. And I would work all day, and then I would sit in the shopping center at the middle of the night and sit on my computer trying to do online uni. That lasted about 6 months because I was just dying because I was doing so many hours. But I was just totally not engaged in that. And I was like, every hour I'm doing this is an hour spent away from doing something that I really love and I'm good at and that I want to do. So that's how I moved into that section.
Now, take me into the mindset at that moment. Like when you talk about this passion or this bug that people get for hospitality, I guess it's often seen as a passion-led industry. You know,
it's got to be.
Like someone might be a pastry chef, and then they decide, look, I'm making all of this pastry. Why don't I go start my own gig, get my own location, and so forth? And it seems like profit definitely comes second. Do you think that this is a mindset that might be affecting why most hospitality-centric businesses fail?
100%. I think it's a lot of people see the end result of a great dinner service or a great lunch service or a beautiful venue. But with any business, it's the hours that go into that to get that ready. And this is like, we toil away for months for like, we just spent like 3/4 of last year building a couple of venues, and we were day in, day out, every single day. We were driving around the country, we were getting inspiration. We put so much time and effort in to have that 10-minute moment where you can sit in the corner of the restaurant and watch somebody sit there and share a special moment with the loved one. And you know that that's a moment that they're going to talk about forever. And that 10 minutes is worth those 8 months of just toiling away. And it's like, when you have those moments, it's like you run a marathon and it's like you're running forever, you're training this and that, but that last little minute when you cross that, it's such a fleeting moment, but it is worth it. And it's the same in any industry. I think it's the industry leaders are the people that they put so much work in the background, and it's meticulous work, and when it's executed like it looks effortless, but it's not. It becomes effortless because you've put the hours in. And that's where it has to be a passion-driven thing, because we get up at 3 a.m. We work all day. We're completely knackered. We're covered in eggs and dirt and food and everything. And we stink when we get home. Like with seafood now, like I walk into the house and sometimes my family's like, dude, you need to go outside. So it's like, but I love it. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. I love the hustle. I love the intensity. I love the thrill of service. I love the thrill of, just creating a moment for somebody.
So with that much passion and energy that goes into it, what's the other part of your brain that allows it to be commercially successful? Because if you're trying to create these beautiful moments that are fleeting, but you're putting 8 months into research and preparation to make sure you guys nail it, what's also going on in the back of your head to make sure that it doesn't go into the red?
Well, you're constantly calculating. We calculate every second. We're constantly looking at like food costs, and we are so flexible. One thing that I learned when we started, I was very rigid in my ideas, and I had a huge ego on me. I was young. I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do, and they weren't received well from people because I was just so dialed in. I was like, no, you better like this because I put so much effort into it. And then, do you know what I mean? And
what were some of those things?
Oh, just like I thought fancier was better. And I thought more expensive was better too. That was just in my head. I was just like, oh, well, I've opened a cafe. Now I need a bar. Now I need a nightclub. Now I need a fancy, now I need more expensive dishes. And the things that were working, I scrapped because I got sick of making, like we had a salad that we used to make, and we would make so many, thousands of them. And I was so sick of making it that I was just like, this is going off the menu. We're putting this fancy $80, $90 chicken on there. And no one bought it. They wanted the salad. Do you know what I mean? So that was one of my first lessons. It was like, you got to understand what people want and you got to meet their needs. And I really, I had an ego death because we went from having a really, really busy restaurant, and personally, one step at a time, I killed that thing to the point where we had to shut the restaurant and completely rebrand it because I killed the brand so badly that it couldn't come back. So we had to reinvent the wheel and bring it back in a different version.
What happened?
I drove customers away because I didn't appreciate them. I took for granted their patronage. I took for granted the fact that they chose to come to us over anybody else. And that we were busy, and I was like, fine, if you don't like it, I'll take the next person. But then I realized if I keep pushing these people out, I'm going to be constantly looking for customers. And then I heard the saying that if you kept every customer you had, you'd never have to look for another one. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I was like, okay, well, maybe let's slow down. Let's actually get to know these people. Let's really invite them into the story. Let's invite them into the brand. Let's invite them into this whole thing that we're doing. As the restaurant evolves, these people are part of the community. They live down the road. They live across the street. You see them every day. You get to know their lives. You watch them have partners. You watch them have kids. You watch them grow up and move in and out, and you become a part of their life. And that's a big switch that I had to make, was to really get to know these people and bring them along in the journey and not treat them just as customers, but as guests. And now we go even further, and these people are family. Like our guests that we have, we take them to dinner. They come to staff parties. We do things with them. Like we go to their house and we buy them flowers on their birthday. Like they're genuinely friends. And it's created a thing where if for any reason our staff have to leave, the guests are bringing in presents and flowers, and they keep in touch and they're texting each other. And it's like, it is a community that's so far outside of their job, because it's not, our job is to be there and facilitate those things, but it's that connection that really holds people there. And that was definitely what I was missing at the start.
What was the specific moment? You talked about the ego death.
Yep.
And this realization that you had to do an entire rebrand. And I love what you just said about, we don't treat them like customers or patrons, we treat them like guests. And that's a very different mentality. It's a very different energy. And I've experienced that personally. There's a place down the road from me. It's called the North Spoon in Sydney. And, we went in there the first time, and they were just so loving and generous and courteous and comforting. And they're like, come grab a seat. Welcome. Is it your first time here? They just made us feel like, oh, we're part of the community. Cool.
Yeah.
Every time we went back, they remembered our names. They'd ask about our kids. How's the dog? And we're like, these guys are cool. And then we just kept going back like every day.
Totally.
Just to hang.
And you'll choose not that it is, but you will choose a subpar product for a premium experience over going because I've been to some fancy restaurants. I couldn't tell you what I ate. I couldn't even remember the name or where they were, and I wouldn't go back again. But there might be like my favorite little Chinese or Indian shop down the road that has like the wallpaper falling off the walls. But I love it because you're in there with their family. It's like the family's cooking with you. You're with them. You feel a part of the experience, and they're my favorite venues.
Yeah, we go back. I've spent thousands of dollars at this restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm not even hungry. I'll just go there. You know what I mean? I'll just go get a coffee or pop in and say hello. So when you had this moment where you had the ego death, like what exactly happened? Walk me through it. And then what were the lessons and how did you build out of it?
So it was a big restaurant that had really high expenses because it was so big to cover the footprint with staff and wages and all those things. And I thought I had so much more experience than I actually did. So that was a big realization. But there was points where a customer would pay and then I would have to take the money out of the till and go drive down to the bank and put the money in the bank to then pay one staff member. And then the next person would pay, then I'd do that. And I was like, okay, this is really not working. Like we were really struggling at some points just to keep the lights on. And I was like, this is going back and back and back. I'm like, what's happening? Why is this such a big venue? And this is and I had to really stop and think about it. And I'd get calls from the bank and they're like, well, you took all the money out of the till. We need change to give to the next customer. I was like, tell them I'll give them a credit.
Yeah.
But when you have those moments and then
just flirting with bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've been bankrupt. It's like, that was rough. Do you know what I mean? I was young and I was bankrupt because I just made every mistake in the book. And I found myself wandering around late at night, just questioning, what am I doing? Where did it go wrong? And I looked and I sat, it was like an epiphany. I was walking through and I just had this camera roll of moments of well, you did this and you forgot that and you didn't do this and then this happened. And then it started to snowball. And I think it really started at the core because now our team, our family, our group of people, they are everything to us. We help them move. We help them with their visas. Any family issues, we lend them cards. Whatever they need, we are there to support them because there's only so much myself and Rosie can do. We can't physically be everywhere all the time, but our guests, our team, are the ones that are taking care of these people. So that was something that was fundamentally lacking at that restaurant. Was the culture was really bad, and that permeated onto the customers. So when I literally had to go back to square one and fix, we had to strip everything back because I was focusing on the end product, not the base level. And that's because it was crumbling from the inside out. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll put this fancy thing on the end. But if it's not served correctly, if it doesn't have that love, you can taste passion in food. And if it's not there from the kitchen because they're disgruntled or whatever, or something's going on, or people are fighting, I'm like, that's going to affect your business. And these guys have so many touch points with the guests that it was a snowball effect where just one thing after another started falling apart. And now that is our core. Everything is culture and our core and our team. And before we do anything, we got to make sure we're all on the same page and that we all have the same vision and we take care of each other like a family. And yeah, we invest in our guys. Like we invest in them and they invest in us. And it's such, and then in turn, our guests, we invest in them, but our guests invest in us. They support us with everything. Like, because our venues are fairly close to each other. It's like, I'll see somebody for breakfast, we see them for lunch, and then they're down at dinner having a glass of wine and some sashimi. It's like, it's amazing. Do you know what I mean?
Because you've got the Rafiki Cafe, like you could probably throw a rock at the beach.
Yep.
Then you have up the street from that, there's kind of a connection of a couple businesses kind of working together where you have the seafood restaurant.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a little precinct down the road.
And then you have on like up the road.
5 minutes down from there is a little takeaway sushi shop.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes down the other road is another cafe and another sushi shop.
So what made you want to diversify, you know, have a little cafe, having a place with a bar, having a seafood restaurant? Like what's been the, I guess, the driving force between having that much diversity?
Well, to be honest, we never looked at businesses to make money. Well, like it has to make money.
Yeah.
It like obviously the fundamental is it has to make money if you want to continue doing it. Like you need the cash flow to pay your bills. But anything we do is money's the last thing that we think. It's like, let's do something we want to do and then we'll work out how to monetize that. So like our businesses aren't just restaurants. Like we had a hair salon for 10 years. And
okay. I didn't know that.
That just stemmed from Rosie, her hairdresser was going out of business and her like that he worked for. And then he was an amazing guy. We don't invest, like what we say is we don't invest in businesses, we invest in people. And if you put the right person in the right position, allow them to shine, it's like I say to the guys all the time, we spend more time together than you do at home, than you do with your family. And like, this is such a huge part of your life. It better bloody be fun. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this can't be a miserable place to be. Like, so let's do things that we love to do. And if it's something that we don't like to do, why are we doing it? Unless it's like, there's things you need to do that are necessary. Like you got to take out the trash. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if we find ourselves where we've worked ourselves into a position where we're doing something that we don't actually enjoy, we're never going to put our heart and soul in it. Do you know what I mean? You got to wake up every single morning and grind. So we find things that we're passionate in, and the food businesses, I think we love hosting. That's something that is like just in our nature. It's just we love bringing people together and putting something onto them and watching them enjoy. We originally, and this is another story, is like we originally wanted to sell, I had the genius idea of selling gourmet toast. I don't know where I thought that was a good idea, but it was just like 10 different styles of gourmet toast. And I was like, here you go, beachside cafe, gourmet toast. And then like within 2 days, I was like, this is terrible. Like no one wants this. And then I was
This is after you opened it?
Then we opened.
Yeah.
And I spent months planning all these things and how we were going to do it and find the perfect slice of bread and all these different toppings. And then within the first week, we literally pivoted and was like, this is not what people want. And we moved to toasted sandwiches, avocado on toast, healthy smoothies, juices, coffee. But then we focused on the atmosphere. And we literally had to pivot like straight away. Our sushi shop, we had a background in sushi. So I knew sushi. And we knew Japanese food. And then like I spoke to my dad because he was living in Hong Kong at the time. And he was like, you should do okonomiyaki. And I was like, sweet, great, let's do okonomiyaki. Put that on the menu. So we were doing sushi, rice bowls, and okonomiyaki. And then we were so busy with the fit out because we just love designing a beautiful space too. Because that's part of it. It's like creating a safe space, like this beautiful room. Do you know what I mean? You got to have a place where people can feel comfortable and relaxed. We get there. I knew nothing about okonomiyaki the day before we opened. Like this is, again, it's like, let's do it and we'll work it out as we go. I made okonomiyaki, my first one, like 2 or 3 days before we opened, and I will eat anything, but that thing was so bad that I sat there crying. And I'm like, we've just invested all this money into a concept that's not going to work.
You're talking about pivoting. So,
Yes.
so like you opened with this toast concept.
Yes.
Doesn't work. Breakneck speed. Let's change that. The sushi, the okonomiyaki wasn't really working. So you breakneck, change that. Like, it sounds like you really don't have much room for error.
No, you don't. Well, you're always going to make mistakes. You have to jump on that error really quickly. So it's like, know your numbers, make sure that you're focusing. And if you do have a leaky tap, you got to close that up really quickly, because especially in the food industry, it's like, that's why it is tough, because food prices are going all through the roof. Like, if the last 5 or 6 years is an example of how crazy and turbulent it can be, like we went through COVID, because we luckily got out of a big restaurant just before COVID, and we only had small takeaways at the time. And we were just in a very fortunate position that we didn't have to pivot as much as some of these big restaurants, that some amazing restaurants were closing because they couldn't pivot quick enough, or their customers didn't pivot in that same way. Food costs went through the roof, which made certain models not work anymore. But we were lucky that we were in a position where we were serving almost I don't want to say, but it's like an entry-level product. So it was the last thing that people would take off their list.
Right. Like going out for a nice fancy experience, you could say that feels more like a frivolous expense, whereas getting a toasted sandwich and a coffee on the way to work in the morning, it's kind of a necessity. I need to eat something.
Totally. And that's where we made that morning coffee like really touch the soul.
People are cutting back. How do you keep them coming through the door if people are cutting all of their costs across the board in their household?
We literally sat the team down only a couple of weeks ago, and we said we have to work our guts off to really get creative. I was like, we know how to produce food. We know how to make food affordable for people. Let's work our absolute guts out to make that happen. So I said, there's like, because restaurant prices are just going up and up across the board, and it's getting to a point where like $120, $130 for breakfast is just crazy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, where did that come from? And it's like, no one can, that's not sustainable.
It's not. Like I looked at a bill the other day and I was like, man, it was like $146 for like breakfast for me, my partner, and our kids. I'm like, I can't do this. Like it just felt silly at that point.
And that's what it got to that point. So I said, like, we're here for our guests, and it's like, if we can reduce and change and modify and improve our option so that we can still deliver what they want and what they expect, but at a price range that is going to keep them coming back every single day. So that's our single-handedly, like, that's what we are focusing so solidly on, is reinventing our dishes, constantly creating, constantly trying to keep it at that price point to make people come back because they don't want to lose that little luxury, because then what are you living for? Do you know what I mean? Not saying that restaurants are the be all and end all, but it is an experience that you go out and it's time where you get to be taken care of. So we need to do our job and not just put the prices up, but fight for our customers so that we can keep that down and really be in their corner so that they can come back and enjoy that experience with us, so that we can continue to do this. And then when times get good, then we can readjust again and keep moving in that cycle. But you have to be so adaptable, especially with the pace of the way things are changing at the moment. It's like, if you lose eggs, then you have to get creative without eggs. It's like, we have these different stages, these ebbs and flows. Like, there was a potato shortage a few years ago, so we had to wipe those off the menu. So there's just, you have to see what's happening and then adapt and change before it's too late. And I think that's where you just have to be quick to act. Really quick to act.
Yo, my name's Dane Walker and I am disgustingly obsessed with branding. I had to figure out a way to do branding every single day, so I branded myself. Then I started my agency, Rival. And hired a team of branding mavericks hell-bent on creating brands so good that they'll make your competition shit their pants. So here's the thing, you want your brand to go viral, and Rival makes brands go viral. That's why we're offering you a free 30-minute branding session to get an expert's opinion. If you don't believe me, the proof is in the pudding. Here's what clients have to say about Rival.
Rival is trusted by brands like Nutrition Warehouse, Light My Bricks, and Vumi.
So if you want to absolutely smoke the competition and make your brand go viral, hit the link below and book in your free 30-minute branding session.
Do you have a couple of core principles that you try to live by when you open an establishment and you want to make it successful? Like some things that you're like, these are the non-negotiables with this establishment.
It's always, well, it's customers first. So it's like, why are we even doing this? Like are we opening a restaurant because we want to open a restaurant, or does this place actually need this? Like, is there actually a need for this? So when we open something, we really think about it. Our venues are all very close. So we've stuck to like our little area. Do you know what I mean? We're not traveling all over the place.
Creating a little monopoly.
Yeah. Oh, there's people that do it way better than us. Do you know what I mean? Like there's some amazing guys out there. But we've got our little community and we know what we want and we're constantly getting feedback from them. So our non-negotiables are like, it's got to be what the customer, like why do people want to come here? Like we got to put ourselves in their shoes and be like, not what do we want to serve, not what do we want to make, not the name we want to get for ourselves. It's like, what do these people want? And that's, so we went back to simplicity because people do want simple things. Do you know what I mean? But you still got to deliver. Like excellence is just the standard, the entry level. So we just know that we're going to put up good food. But then it's those extra little moments. And it's like, how can you surprise and entice your guests at every twist and turn through that experience? It's like, I think surprises are amazing things to happen through a guest experience. Like, small example, like at Rafiki, we put a tiny little cookie on the top of every takeaway coffee. It's so small, but it means the world to people.
What are some things that you identified with, let's just take Rafiki.
Yep.
What was the need that you saw in the community? So like if someone's trying to identify whether there is or isn't a need, like what are some of the things someone can do to make sure that they're finding a concept that isn't just serving their own ego or their own needs, but it actually serves a community?
Well, I can't talk for everybody because there are so many different reasons why people get in. So for our experience was we love connection, and in a world where that's getting further and further apart, it's weird. Like we walked around our streets and these people didn't even talk to their neighbors because they just lived in big houses with walls up and they would walk past them, but they never talked to them. So Rafiki was creating a communal space. Like even the seating and the way that we did it, it's like the seats face each other, big long benches. So you're forced to sit next to somebody. Then we allowed the dogs and like the babies, the prams. These are great conversation starters. Like listen, I know more dogs' names than I know their humans' names. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what a great conversation starter. So you bring that in, and because you see these people, like if you live in an area and you know that there's a certain dog that walks around the area, like you know these people, you never talk to them. So this was such a great icebreaker, and it's brought these people together. Like people come down to the cafe without even an intention of buying anything. They just want to come and see who's there, see if they know somebody, and they might just hang out for a chat or like pass them on their morning walk or finish a surf. Like that's what we wanted. We're not even there to sell something.
So outside of like the community's need for like food, you're trying to think about like what else can we do to bring connection, to strike conversations, to give them another place to hang out.
Totally.
Other than their house and their workplace.
And we our guys we really drill that into them. It's like connect your customers, get them talking, introduce them, like get them, like we're the facilitators of that experience. So it's like, have you met so-and-so? They do this, or I know that you have a kid that does this, or you're out at doing this activity. And then we get them talking. And then people are so willing to talk to each other. You just got to create that environment for them. So for us, it's like, that's that extra little thing that hits in their heart and that they really hold on forever and that they'll miss when they leave. Mm. And like, because we've had like staff or guests that have gone and moved to other states or whatever, and they're still messaging us and going, oh, we miss you guys so much. Like, because they miss those moments, those memories that they've had, those breakfasts, those rainy days outside while they're drinking their coffee drenched. Like it's, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a vibe there. And I remember when I went there, there was dogs, prams, people just vibing out. It was really cool. So some people say it's all about the food. You're saying it's a lot more about the experience and the connection and the relationships. Where do you stand on this? Because it sounds like your perspectives change over time from your ego dying to realizing it's about them. It's not about you. It's about being in service of. It's about hospitality, right? I guess to get clear on the question here, what is it that allows a business to be successful in hospitality outside the experience and outside of the relationships and community connection?
Well, I think I used to think the food was the be all and end all. Now I think it's less than 50%, like well and truly less than 50%, because it's like the food has to be good as a standard. Like you can't serve rubbish and expect people to keep coming back. But the ambience, the lighting, the music, the flow of the venue, the way the staff interact with everybody, they're the thing that's actually plays more of a part than the food. I think if you put too much emphasis on if you slop down, like if you have a delicious dish, but you throw it in front of somebody and they're like, oh, that waiter's an asshole. Like, it doesn't matter how good the food is. You will never come back to that place ever again. Or if you're sitting somewhere and it's like freezing cold, or like you're getting smashed by the elements, or it's just like the seats are uncomfortable. Like you have to put attention to detail into everything. It's like, where are people going to sit? Like, where does the flow go? Like, are they like right next to the washing station? Do you know what I mean? Is that a bad experience? How can we manipulate and move the seating around? Like, you got to really put yourself in their shoes to be like, is this a place I'm going to be willing to sit there for an hour and a half and have all my world problems go away? I think I think the food has to be good, like as an absolute standard, but your service has to be exceptional. The venue has to be like immaculate, really well presented. And then you got to have like your costings, your operations, your timings. You don't want to wait an hour and a half for food. Like your service, your sequence of service has to be down pat. And I think it's 1,000 little 1%ers that make up everything. So there are your big ticket items, your cost of goods, your wages, all those sorts of things. But then if you really dial in those 1%ers that make the difference, and think about the customer experience from the second they walk into your venue, like what's the flow? Like where are they going to go? Like what's the experience from start to finish, from being greeted, being seated, like how's the access to the toilets? Like what's their dining experience going to be? And even when they're leaving, like, are you saying goodbye? Like, are you walking them to the door? I think they're those extra moments that really make this successful, because you notice it when you go to a place
Big time.
And they've got that down pat.
Yeah, you're like, this is exceptional.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is so much thought that goes into that.
Yeah, we had a guest on recently. His name's Marcus Collins, and he works for Wyden and Kennedy, and he'd done some stuff for like the NBA, and he'd worked with Beyonce and all the rest of it. And he came up with this really interesting concept. He said, like, we're in society at the moment, we're getting so comfortable with automation. So for example, you want food to your door, Uber Eats. You want to get somewhere, you don't even have to call a cab, hail a cab. You don't even have to pull out a card. You just punch in the address, a car shows up, you get in, you get out, you do your thing. But when you walk into a restaurant, then you're faced with options and work. Like, oh, I got to scan this QR code and I got to scroll through this menu, and you know what I mean? So he's like, you have this seamless experience in the Uber. You get out, now you have this difficult experience with a waiter. So what's your opinion on how restaurants and establishments need to function now? Like, I personally get annoyed with QR codes. I'm like, I don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
I'm here, you do the work.
Yeah.
Right? It might sound egotistical, but I get pissed.
Oh, totally.
When I have to scan a QR code.
Yeah.
But what's your opinion on like that flow-on effect? Like, how do you make sure you're ushering that in a way where they go, damn, I want to come back?
Yeah. I think it's very venue dependent. It's like some big venues where there's a lot of ground to cover. QR codes are almost vital to keeping that business running, because they can't have staff walking all the way around these huge grounds, because some venues are enormous. I was very against them for a very long time. I really wanted that personalized service we just wanted to connect with our customer. We wanted to talk to them. We wanted to get their orders right. We wanted to, because we do a lot of personalization, probably more than we should. But these guys mean a lot to, like, our guests mean a lot to us. So they've been with us for a long time. I think we now have moved to a bit of a blended service where that facility is there should you choose to use it, but we're here to serve you.
Okay.
So if it's a busy night and we're really under the pump and you want another round of drinks and you can just scan your code and you can get that done instantly because it goes straight to the bar, great. But if you want to, but if it's a quieter night, or even if we're completely under control, we will come and we will serve the hell out of you. and we will give you everything you wanted and more. So I think, a bit of blend of the technology is because you need the technology to help run the business. Like automation in restaurants is like, I was having this conversation with Roz the other day. It was like when I first started, everything was paper. And the amount of the amount of mistakes that would go to the kitchen. But now I feel like I'm running a tech company, not a restaurant, because it's like with some of our venues do Uber Eats, the online bookings, the online menus, the QR codes, like all the automation through like the online booking services and all the plugins that you can have. It's like there's so many things to update and stay on top of now. But they help us offer a better experience to the guests if utilized properly, because you can definitely throw people to the wayside.
What do you think are like the common mistakes people are doing? Because like that's an interesting point with Uber. Like now you're at the whim of the Uber gods and you're serving this piece of software, and if something goes wrong, you can't really control it. Like, what's your honest take on having to juggle a physical environment with face-to-face experiences, but then you're also trying to serve this tech company and send food to someone's door?
Yeah. It's difficult. Like, and you got to have the right product for the platform, because it's like the same thing with podcasting or this or that, whatever. It's like you got to have the right product for the medium. So our business, like Uber does really well with like Indian food, pizzas, like stuff that travels well. So that allows us to, because some of our businesses do Uber Eats, some of them don't.
Okay. Like
so
avocado on toast just doesn't travel well.
Coffee does not really travel well. No. Like you don't want that. Or just like an Eggs Benny would never travel well. Do you know what I mean? So whereas like a Japanese rice bowl works really well and can stay good for a very long period of time. So that works. It's definitely a balance between those two. It's like we prefer the in-house interaction, but then you also have to be aware that you are getting some marketing, you are getting branding, people are seeing your product through these mediums. So we use it for what it is, but we do not rely on it, because for Uber, it's an advertising exercise for us. We get out to a lot of people. We're able to serve our customers when they can't get to the store. So they're still allowed to have that experience, but we focus on growing our business internally.
Do you think that when it comes down to it, that you're doing this delicate dance between creating an experience, creating memories, trying to have a really solid culture in a place where it's kind of hard to get enough staff, or it's hard to cover the costs of overheads and rents and food inflation and all the rest of it? It just sounds like it's such a dance, and you have to have your mind in the tech, you have to have your mind in the kitchen, you have to have your mind on the customers, the experience, the hospitality, the environment, all the rest of it. How do you make sure that all hums? Do you have pulse checks? Like, how do you make sure you're constantly staying on point with all of these things?
You learn to dance. That's what you do. You learn to dance.
Break dance your way through the day.
But it's fun. That's the exciting bit about it. That's like, at the end of the day, like we say, like, we love business. Business is the same. No matter what you're doing, you have a product and you're trying to like somebody's got to need that product that you're serving. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, no matter what shape it is, if it comes in a form of food, if it comes in the form of a book, if it comes in the form of a podcast, it's like, it is all business. So that to me is the beauty. That's the game that we love to play. That's what gets us up every single morning. Is I love the thrill, the chase, the excitement of like we do real life like tests all day, every day. Like our feedback loop is insane, because it's like, put it at like, especially for us, we spend months planning some things, we spend seconds planning others. So we can put things out, we can get the feed, like, here, try this special. Did you like it? No, this is crap. You're off target. This is what we're expecting. So that feedback loop, and then it's like we can take that back, and that's a challenge. It's exciting. It keeps us vibrant. We're not doing something the same every single day. Like I love it so much.
Do you find it like, okay, take me into the cultural component of having a restaurant or a cafe do well? Like what do you try to create? How do you make sure that the culture stays in a good place? How do you prevent issues and arguments and resentment building up in a team?
Well, I think you have to empower your guys. They're adults, not all of them, but not because they're not adults, just because they're younger. But like, we empower our guys, we hold them accountable for the things they're doing right and they're doing wrong, but we also teach them to hold themselves accountable. And we say to them all the time, it's, you're not going to be here forever. I understand that. There's only a very small portion out of the entire staff that actually want a career in hospitality, which is fine. I get that. So our responsibility to you is to make you a better person and leave here with more skills than you came, because you will learn some serious life skills that you can take into any business after you've done some time on the floor in a restaurant. You will learn people skills like there is no tomorrow, and you get it quick. So we really invest in our guys. We get to know them. What do you want to do? What are your goals? Because in this business that is a restaurant, there's tech, there's marketing, there's design, there's like food, there's service, there's like costings. You can learn numbers. You can learn every part. Like you can learn a skill that will take you anywhere in this restaurant. So tell me what you're interested in. I'm going to try and find you a position in the restaurant that can enhance something that you're interested in, so you can take that skill into the future. So like we used to outsource a lot of things. Like we've got a girl now that works for us, and she designs all our menus and our flyers because she loves graphic design, but she also makes a killer coffee. So she makes coffee during the day. We pay her to do the other stuff at night time. We find things that they love to do. Some of them love being in the background and cooking and creating, but they hate being on the floor. So let's put you in a position where you're going to shine. And that builds them up so high. We also really enforce that you guys are a family. You got to look out for each other. Like when you go into a service and all hell is breaking loose, like you got to know that the guy next to you has got your back. And we really turn high intense situations into having a blast. And I watch some of them when things are going wrong, one thing after another, like equipment's breaking, orders are wrong, or like the till system goes down. And instead of them freaking out, I watch this huge smile on their face, and they're like, it's like they're about to go into battle, and they're warming up for it. So that is something that, that's the culture that really gets me excited when I see them knowing that they got each other's back, and they go over and above for it. They check in with each other to make sure that, do you need a break? I'm going to cover, like, you've just had a really intense period, or you've been working for a long time. Go sit outside for 10 minutes, like have a breather. I got you. That's what I love. That's what we really emphasize. And when we see those moments, it's like, don't catch people doing stuff wrong. Catch them doing it right. And then really drill in on that. Because you can have those quiet little chats with the corrections. But if you're spending all day, every day, focusing on the things that you want to see out of these guys, they will bring that out naturally. And then that just permeates through the whole group.
Was there any particular moments where you had a defining moment where you had a reality check or a realization around the power of the culture in the team?
Well, I think you see the downfall of like when I was getting it wrong. I saw that accumulate into one day. The day that we had to close the restaurant, to be like, we need to stop this thing. And then I had to close the restaurant, and we sat there inside just like working out like, what the hell are we doing? Like, where did we go so wrong that we now have to completely flip this thing on its head? Because we didn't know where to go. And it was just one thing after another. And then that climaxed into a period where we didn't know, like, I didn't know what to do. And then I had to literally break down every preconceived concept of like what I thought we were here to do, because I thought we were here to run a restaurant. It's not. We were here to build a family. And that's what we were actually here to do. And then when that clicked in my mind, I realized, okay, what we sell or what we do is almost not important. It's us going through life as a team, as a family, and we're going to do this together, and things will come and go as we go, but we're just driving this train the whole way along. And as we built that train back together, one piece at a time, and the momentum started to come, and then we started to, one is like, you decide what you're willing to accept, but you have to get really strict about what you're not willing to accept. And when we cut out things and we said, no, we're not going to allow like this toxicity in here, because that's going to permeate through. We set some really hard rules about the way we want our people to be, the way we want them to act with each other, the way we need to show up and be of service to them so they can be of service to the guests.
Business owners, if you're stuck using one platform for every project, you're probably stuck in a growth bottleneck. More clients means more hires, which just adds noise and cuts into profits. To break the loop, you need flexible tools that don't stretch your resources. Wix Studio is a smart addition to your business toolkit. Intuitive by design, your team can quickly master the platform and focus on the work that matters the most. Then keep up the momentum with a built-in management tool, a unified dashboard, reusable assets, and a Figma plugin that turns static design into launch-ready websites. With robust native business solutions like bookings, e-commerce, and events, you can take any project at any scale without the added cost of third-party plugins. Plus, Wix Studio is a low-maintenance platform, meaning you can redirect the client budget towards real growth initiatives. Think more value for clients, steady income streams, and stronger relationships. To get started, simply go to wix.com/studio. In that moment when you close the restaurant,
Rough.
did you want to quit?
Oh, yeah, I did. I actually, so many times. And because I always thought, if everything goes wrong, I know I work hard, so I can at least go get a job, and I'll work 100 hours a week and I'll pay my bills and I'll work it all out. I was gonna leave. I was gonna go overseas. And then Roz supported me through that whole journey. She's like, go, I'm your biggest fan. I'll cry. I'll push you onto the plane. And I was planning it. I was organizing overseas, but then I stopped and I thought, what am I running away from? Like, why am I running? Because I thought I was going to chase a new adventure, but then I realized I was running, and I was running from the pain of getting it wrong. And I just needed to stop and reflect and go, okay, it's not, you do this, you love it, but you need to work it out. You need to get it right. So then it was literally, ego death, back to square one, and not running away and coming back to start again.
Was it more painful having to reconstruct your ego, or was it more painful not knowing how to fix it?
Not knowing how to fix it. Once the ego died, I was like, I was rock bottom. Do you know what I mean? I was like, there's nothing, you can't take anything from me.
Just listening to Creed in the shower.
Yeah, I would literally take really long walks at night. I'd walk for hours at nighttime, just in the dark, around just parks, just trying to think about what's going wrong. And then that just dissolved. And then, rebuilding just once you eliminate that ego out of that and then really became of service, which is what this game is about, then that's where the penny really dropped for me.
I think my favorite part in what you're talking about here is that, of course, you have to know your numbers.
Yes.
You have to know what the community want. You have to be extremely concise and attentive to the details. You're creating moments, not just food. You're really holding a space for people to come in and out of. When you get the culture right, you get the food right, you get the location right, and everything's kind of flowing. How do you know when your business is in a position where it should expand? You should open another location. Should you just stay focused and dialed in? How do you know when to expand or if you should expand?
At the start, you have no idea. You just give it a go and then you make some mistakes. That's the thing, is bigger is not better.
Okay.
It can be, but not always. And more is not better. And it's even now we've made the decision to put a hold on opening more venues so that we could focus on some of our other products, because we've got another business that we really want to focus on.
Yeah, I want to give you guys a shout out on this as well, because there's an interesting story behind it. You have a product called Rafiki.
Yes.
And this isn't a plug. It's actually fucking amazing. So I remember the first time I tried it, you guys sent me a bottle of this stuff and I just put it on my avocado on toast, and it's like crack for your breakfast. You guys joke that it's the love child of salt and pepper.
Yeah.
It's just better.
Yeah.
Now around this, because you've got all these venues, how did this whole thing happen? Because you're not only having success with your venues, but you have this spice mix that you've created. I even feel like I'm offending you by saying that, but this has become a bit of a sensation in your community.
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
And so what happened?
It happened by default, because when we opened the first restaurant, I had no idea. We went into coffee roasting and I had no idea how to coffee roast. So we had to work that out first of all. Then we opened the doors and I had no idea how to make a coffee. So I had to learn that pretty quickly because I was running outside to grab the barista that was having a smoke every time somebody wanted to order a coffee, and I sat there like an idiot waiting for him to make the coffee so I could run it out. And then it happened in the kitchen, and the chefs would leave. They would not show up. They were inconsistent. They would promise something and not deliver. And that was a constant battle until one day they just either no one showed up or we were short staffed or something happened. I couldn't remember, but I had to jump in the kitchen. And then I was like, okay, we own a restaurant and I have no idea how to poach an egg. And I'm like, why did I do this? So
It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
ridiculous.
Like, I'm going to open a surf shop, but I don't surf. Like, it's one of those
and
things where
that was it. It's like, I love people, but there's a whole lot of this other part of the business I have no idea about. So then I had to learn to poach an egg, and then I had to do this. And then I was promised all these beautiful food in a tasting, but then when it came to consistency on the menu, which is a huge part of the business, consistency is everything. And we were giving out different products every day because the product wasn't consistent. So when we opened Rafiki, the cafe, I was like, I'm done with chefs. I'm not doing this again. I'm done. So I was like, we're going to create a product that we can put on all the food, and then we can make entry-level food, and then we can make it taste amazing by putting this. That way we don't need chefs. We can run a better operation with lower cost because we don't have these high wages. We can bring entry-level staff in. We can teach them how to cook. We can keep it consistent, but we can make the food taste amazing. So the product had to have a wide spread, and it had to not overpower food. It had to enhance it. And just by default, we started putting it on the food. People started loving it. They started asking for it. So we would give them little coffee cups of like to take home and have some because they wanted to have that experience at home. And then we were like, oh, well, I'm giving out so many of these coffee cups, we may as well go down to the $2 shop, buy a couple of jars. So then we bought these tiny little jars.
I remember you sent me like a glass jar.
I probably sent you one of those first prototypes. Oh, God.
But how did you come up with the mix? Like what led you to create this mix that you guys crafted?
I think it was a blend of being so fortunate to travel when I was younger and experience, like Dad spent some time in Dubai. So I got to taste all those Middle Eastern flavors and see spices that don't get used here a lot. So like just things like sumac just has such a beautiful flavor to it, but is not utilized here. So, and it was that plus a kind of wing in it, definitely a little bit wing in it. So we put it together. The first one was pretty close to the final version, but then we iterated a little bit and we got lucky. We got lucky. And yeah, it just kind of worked from the start. And we haven't had to change it since. Like we've tweaked it a little bit to improve it and make it sort of more palatable as we expand and grow and do bigger batches and stuff like that. But yeah, no, we got lucky.
Yeah. And you guys killed it, and that stuff is like crack. Like we handed it out to our team here. People are constantly like, when are they sending the next shipment? And now you guys have a site which people can go to and get and try for themselves. We'll put a link in the chat here. But like, yeah, what you guys have done with that is interesting because you're obsessed with community. You're obsessed with creating moments. And you're clearly just like the type of person to really enjoy experimenting and figuring it out while you're doing it.
Yes.
How much of failure in your industry do you think is attached to people overthinking, over-engineering, and not jumping on things fast enough?
Oh, a huge chunk of it because, and I'm so guilty of this myself. Like I've spent months planning something, thinking that it's perfect, refining it, constantly refining it, and then putting it out and it being an absolute flop. And I've wasted 6 months designing rubbish. And then sometimes I will have something where I have it for breakfast one morning because I'm putting things together in my cupboard, and I'm like, this tastes pretty good. Let's try it at the cafe. Try it, and then it works, and then it goes out. And that's what I realized is like fail fast. And like a friend of mine, and even with Rafiki, it was like we were trying to get it off the ground, like before we we're talking with you guys and like developing the product. And I was paralyzed by trying all the things that I had to do. And I was like, I'm so far away from this because I got to do this and this and this and this and this. And then I realized, he said to me, he's like, just get that minimum viable product out there. He's like, iPhone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they just constantly improve it. So it's like, get it out there, test it, get that feedback, get that honest feedback, not what you think they want, what they actually want. What are the problems with the product, not what you're seeing? Because I'd start looking through rose-colored glasses, or I'm looking through a concrete wall, like struggling to connect with the product. Whereas these guys will give us the feedback and let us know what's missing or how we can improve it.
Now, around the topic of expansion and growing, it seems like there's never the perfect moment in hospitality or the perfect plan or what have you. I noticed that trends seem to come and go.
Yes.
How do you guys stay relevant without just becoming another fad or getting caught up in a fad and then having to reinvent your business again and again?
By making the mistake of trying to be a fad-based cafe and then wrecking it and then going back to square one.
Was there a fad for toast at one point?
Even before that, like I thought that fads, they would come in and then I would do the best version of that fad. And then I realized that we actually didn't have an identity. We were just a fad-based place that would change with the times. So now, like when I look at a menu, I look at it percentage-based. And I'm like, I break it up into percentages. So this is the core, like a huge chunk of the menu, 70, 80% will be the core stuff that people know and love, that they understand. Then I will have like a portion, 5, 10% to things that we're experimenting and trying. I'll have one fad dish on there so that you can stay relevant and keep with the times with people and stuff like that. But I don't change the identity based on a fad, because I realize they come, but they go. So you don't want your business to go when that fad's out the window. And that's why I could never we could never open a business where it's just purely surrounded by a fad. It's got to be around those staples that people know, love, understand. People have been eating things. A bacon egg burger has been around for a very long time. That's because there's a reason why that happened, because people freaking love them.
Yeah.
So don't try and reinvent the wheel.
And how much do you think about the virality of a dish when you're introducing it to the menu versus just it tasting good?
I couldn't care less about the virality of a dish, to be honest. I don't think that's the view for everybody. My thing is like a dish, because the problem is a lot of viral dishes look great, but they taste like shit. And it's like, well, you're like, yeah, wow, I'll take a photo, but I'm never going to come back and buy and eat that again. For me, it's taste first, because regardless of a pretty coffee, once you stir your spoon in it, it's gone. Do you know what I mean? But you got to drink the rest of that coffee. So if it tastes like crap, like, yes, it obviously has to look pretty. It has to be aesthetic. Like that comes with the territory, but our focus is the flavor. And it's got to be food that you enjoy eating so that you want to crave it, because you're not going to crave something visually.
Yeah.
You're going to crave that taste in your mouth and that feeling that it gives you, that dopamine release.
Yeah, you almost get anchored to the first time you have it.
Yep.
And some of my favorite dishes, it was just like I was having a stellar day. I just coincidentally ordered that, felt great when I ate it. And I tend to be the guy that goes back and just orders the same thing every time.
But then that's back to the food at being less than 50%, because the way that you were feeling, the way those people made you feel was a big part of the way that food tasted.
Interesting, right? So you're saying, if someone plops a plate down on my table and is like, have a good day, and it's like, oh, okay, versus like, hey, like a bit of interaction, everything just seems to taste better.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like when your grandma comes down and kisses you on the forehead and puts a plate of cookies in front of you. The best
Man,
cookies
anything
I've
grandma
ever
makes is
had.
great. Now, how do you guys deal with, I guess, influencer culture, food critics, customer reviews, public perception? How do you manage this kind of PR component around a venue?
I know you're touching on a soft spot.
What's soft spot?
Well, when I get a DM that says, do you want to collab? Which is not collab. You want to come in and have a free meal, which I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
So it's like the social media, the influencer side, I couldn't care less, honestly, because they come and they go, and I don't think they have as much weight as they think they do. I think it's your everyday customer that lives around the corner, these genuine people that genuinely support your business, not looking for free stuff. So in terms of influencers, I'm not remotely interested. I want to know the real people that come into the restaurant. When it comes down to managing online, I look for the message inside the message if it is a negative review, because usually reviews are so extreme. It's very rare that you're going to get a middle of the range review. It's either going to be, this was the most amazing thing, or everything was terrible. And this is because some of the guys get really upset because they put their heart and soul into something. I said, well, look at what this person is actually trying to say, because it might be one thing that went wrong, but then the whole cascading effect would have never happened if that one thing didn't go wrong. So where do we fix that? And for me, it's like, you're going to make mistakes. Things are going to happen. Like things out of your control are going to happen that are going to wreck somebody's experience. So for us, it's really genuinely stopping, getting on the phone or getting in contact with that customer as personally as possible and bringing them back to redo that experience again and to show them what it is, to connect them, to let them know that you did make a mistake or a mistake happened, but we're here to fix that because we're here for the long run. And that's what we do. It's not a thanks for your advice. It's like, no, come back in, come talk to us. Like, come let us let's meet, let's have that experience again. And you'll be surprised when you approach people like that. People are people. They love being communicated with. I think we put these walls up and these facades about who these people are, or like we put them on a pedestal or we shun them away. And I think when you just genuinely connect with people, you will get, because there's 10 different versions of Dane.
Yeah.
There's 100 different versions of me, depending on how you're getting me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you may have got them on a bad side, and it might have nothing to do with your experience. It might be something that's going on in their life, and you were the outlet. So
they might be getting divorced that day, or God knows what.
Exactly. Or like, yeah,
you might be the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah, you just might have been that moment where you gave them a glance, or you didn't give them a friendly hello, and they're just like, that's enough. You know?
Totally. And these things can all be redone.
Yeah.
Bring them back in.
Yeah.
If they don't want to, that's completely fine, but give them the opportunity. Like I tell the guys, it's like, this is an escape from your problems. You know what I mean? It's like, problems stay at the door. It's like, we are here to offer people an experience. And this is, if you've had a crappy day, leave that at the door and have an amazing service. Be with your friends, because the guys all are so well connected that they are friends. You know what I mean? So they're getting to hang out with their friends while doing something that they enjoy to do. Like, we try and make the job as easy as possible through great systemization, through, like, I don't want them to work. I want them to work as easily as possible. I don't want them to work hard. So if we can find a way to better develop our systems to make their life easier so they could spend more time with the guest instead of just trying to do their job.
Right.
That's what we focus on, because
as much automation behind the scenes as possible, so that you can focus on
it's the freedom
to
sit there and have a 10-minute conversation, not because you have to run the food and do this and do that and whatever.
Because you can come across as being rude or
totally.
What have you.
But it's stressful, because if you're completely under the pump, you're going to put that onto the guests.
Yeah.
So it's all of it is that human interaction. But you can when you learn to break down walls with people, you can flip them in an instant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you say something not inappropriate, but if you say something that is left of center, you can break somebody's, because you know what I mean, like, misery loves company. When people, you can break that pattern really quickly, and you can change that experience for the rest of the night. Yeah. So that's what I like. We have a great team where the guys all check in with each other to make sure that's happening. And if something is really intense, like, we check in with their lives all the time. Like, like, we're very invested in what's going on in their personal life, so that we can help them do that, because we know it's like, we want you here, but we also know that you're dealing with that. So how can we help fix that in your personal life so that you can come to work and everything's, well, not even come to work. And it's not for our benefit, but it's for your benefit as a human, because we love you and respect you.
No, well said. And I think, the cultural piece is important. The relationships between people is important. Leaving your shit at the door and trying to bring your A game. It's like a performance. It's like you're in theater almost.
It's very much so.
It sounds like, whatever you got going on at home, I don't know what happened with that girl with the burrito, but you know what I mean? You got to leave that shit at the door, and you got to perform.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have a good connection with the community, you've got a great cultural team, environment, atmosphere, the food's good. Yeah. And you've got a nice automated system, you're using technology, all these other things. How much does branding play a role in the mix of this? Like, is it something that adds an edge, or like, how do you see or understand how branding can influence beyond just the culture, beyond just
enormously. And you have to have a solid brand, which is like, we were so blessed to work with Rival and have Rafiki become a brand, because it wasn't a brand beforehand. It was 5 letters that I found some weird squiggly font and put together. And I was like, when I showed you the first time, I was like, this is our brand. And you're like, not a brand.
What's your definition of a brand in the world of hospitality? What are some of the hallmarks a venue needs to have?
Oh, in terms of a brand, I think it's the feeling that the venue gives you is the brand of that venue, the experience that you're going to have, that you know that they're responsible for. So there's some brands that are like, you know you're going to have a good party when you go to this place, or you know this is a great high-class restaurant. You're always going to get an exceptional meal with crazy service. For us, Rafiki, it's fun, it's playful, it's community-driven. It's like, it's about being active, it's about being alive, it's about like just music and laughter and all those sorts of things that for us brings people together because we love celebration. Like that is us to the core. It's like so many moments go in life and you can just whisk them away or forget to celebrate we celebrate everything. Like everything. We will celebrate the smallest of achievements to the biggest of events. We will just celebrate it all. And I think that just makes life worth living. And then if you can drag people into that, it's like you become attractive by being an attractive person or by being an attractive brand. It's like we don't want to go out and find people. We want them to be drawn into us. So we do things like we're that guy in the corner having fun and you're like, why is that guy over there dancing by himself, just having a great time? I'm going to go check that out. And then 1 turns into 2, turns into 3, turns into 4. And that's what I think. It's like we just want to be our most authentic self, and that's represented in the brand because it is fun, it's playful, and that's just who we are at our core.
So for you, with all of this stuff that you're doing, I understand you've got Rafiki that's popping off. Like you guys mentioned to me, you've built this product, it's going gangbusters. You haven't even been focused on it for a year because you've had such a demand from your venues.
Yeah.
Now you're returning to that, which is fantastic. But above all of this, if we zoom out to 30,000 feet, how do you want to be remembered?
I don't. I don't. That's so unimportant to me.
Wow.
Right now, like I couldn't care less because think about it. Like I don't even know my great grandfather. Like I know his name. And I know a couple of things about him, but I know nothing else. No one cares. Like, and which is fine. I'm cool with that. But as long as what I focus on is being present in the moment, because whatever happens in the future, I have zero control in. Whatever happens in the past is already done. But how I show up every single day and the way that I make people feel in that exact moment, that's what I focus on. I couldn't care less about what legacy. I just love doing things. I love being useful. I love going out with our team, with Roz, and us just putting our all into some sort of project and giving it a go and either massively succeeding or having it blow up in our face. Like it's fun when things go wrong. Do you know, like I've developed that mindset where it's just like we gave it a go and we got it so wrong, but that's fine. So it's like, I don't think nothing's legacy based. It's just that we just like doing. We have a group of people that we like spending time with, and we make food, we sell products, we cut hair, we do all different things. We spend time together and we just travel through life. So that's kind of where my focus is at the moment.
I love that. That's a really honest response, very candid, and I can connect with it personally. What's a quote or a mantra that you've carried with you on your journey that you wished everyone listening to this would immediately implement?
Well, something that my dad said that he constantly would say to me is be true to yourself, be kind to others, and the rest will sort itself out. And if you can do those things daily, like if I can show up and do that daily, then I've had enough experiences to know that over a long enough time period, things work themselves out. Like whenever I go see my grandma, she's 95, and the only thing that she asked me, she's like, are you happy? Are you healthy? And after a lifetime, they're the only 2 things she cares about.
That's all grandmas care about, man.
They've had so much to do. And then I realized all this other stuff is not important.
Yeah.
So I think just showing up and being true to yourself, because deep down you know. Do you know what I mean? Whether you fight it or not, like you know the answer. So be true to yourself, always be kind to others, regardless of what's going on, because you have no idea of their story. And I've just had that situation play out personally so many times in my life. And then knowing that everything will work out over a long enough time period, because it's either you're going into storm, you're in one, or you're coming out. So it's like you're just in a phase, and everything is so cyclic. You just got to keep pushing through. So I just know that it will just, everything works.
Yeah, I was sharing a quote recently, which is from Johnny Knoxville, which is one of my favorite quotes. We did like a quote episode where he says that I know it's going to end bad, but I'm going to pretend it's not.
Yep. Yeah, dude, it's so true.
So much of business is like that, because you're just like, man, this is going to go bad somewhere. I don't know where, but we'll figure it out.
But it will.
Yeah.
There's so many factors. There's so many moving parts. To sit there and think that you can control everything is just absurd. You just got to get on the wheel and just ride the wave.
Yeah.
And when I stopped fighting, like pushing and fighting, and just started to flow, that's when everything really opened up for me. So I now just focus on trying to go with the flow and flowing with what's going on around us.
Was there any key people of influence that you really aspired to learn from on this journey?
I feel like it's forever changing. I feel like, to be brutally honest, like Roz is a true inspiration. I learned so much from her, like every single day. So like our connection is crazy, but you meet this journey of business is so wild. Do you know what I mean? And you never know who's around the corner. So it's like, I just am wide-eyed open, waiting for the next person that I encounter. There's like, I didn't know you, but now I do. And I'm like, you're a fascinating person. So
Thanks,
I love, like, I just love meeting interesting people, and I love getting to know them. So it's like, and I think that's a common thread through everything that we do, because like one of our goals is to just create something where interesting people want to come to see us by the party that we host or the event that we hold, because then we don't have to go see them. They can come see us, and then we can just meet people, because people are fascinating. Humans are so fascinating.
Is there anyone that you're modeling that you're like, man, the way they do business is fucking rad, I want to copy that?
Specifically one person? No. I take bits and pieces from everybody, because I feel like I've gone down that path of just trying to imitate in the past. And that's where like my younger self really got lost, because I was trying to be somebody else. So now what I've learned to do is I pick pieces and attributes from people that I like and that I can apply in my own life. And then I start to build that in my own way and develop it that way.
Yeah, rather than trying to copy everyone.
Copy everybody. I find pieces from everyone that I meet that like, somebody that lives on the streets. Like I had a fantastic conversation with somebody only a week ago, and I learned so much from them. Somebody that you would usually write off, but then like CEOs, my dad, grandmothers, like just random people that you meet on this, you can learn from everybody. So I try and just pick up these little nuggets of gold through life and then put that together and apply it to my life.
I love that, man. That's awesome. When you wake up in the morning, what gets you fired up?
My phone going off. Just the fact that I woke up. Dude, I say it every day. I'm like, I woke up. Today's a good day because I'm alive. Like, I'm just stoked to be alive, because the rest of it, and I always say, is like the worst thing that could happen is that you die, but then it's all over. So there is no pain after death. So it's just like, and for me, just another day. I'm stoked with another day, because I've experienced tragedy. I've had people around me die, and I've seen loss, and I've seen pain, and I've seen regret. So for me, it's just wake up, give it your all, come home, knackered at the end of the day, and then go to sleep and just go, because we're so blessed to be in a position where we don't do things that we don't enjoy doing. We literally get to dictate our day, dictate our life, and we've been put in a position where we're able to craft that. So I don't do anything that I don't enjoy. Like I just love it, and I will do it till I have zero energy left in my body at the end of the day. And collapse on the couch and then wake up and do it again.
Yeah, I always joke about this, and I've said this on the pod before, and I say this to people all the time. They're like, what's your exit plan? I'm like, fuck the exit plan. I just want to do this till I turn to dust. Like, this is my shit. Yeah.
That's so true. It's like, I don't have an exit plan. It's just like, what's the next thing?
What's the next brand I can build? You know, I'm just hungry for the next project. Now for you and Roz, like, what's a door that you need to kick in order to go to the next level in business?
Well, this is like we're learning a new industry now through this, like through the spices. It's like we need to go through and we need to challenge and expand ourselves. So we've got to a point where we're almost comfortable with restaurants where we could do them very easily with our eyes. Like we can do this model. We know it. We've done it for a very long time. So now we need to kick down the door of becoming beginners again. Like luckily we both embrace being beginners and being shit at stuff. So like I love that journey because I know the process of starting and learning something. Like we understand, we learnt how we learn. So I think kicking down the door of this completely new industry of e-commerce sales, like contract manufacturing, like shipping, logistics, all those sorts of things, like that's our next exciting opportunity. And it's just biting the bullet and like sinking our teeth into it. That's why we said no more restaurants. Like we need to focus on this because we were like, we're going to focus on it. Then we went and opened 2 more of them. Yeah. So I was like, no, we need to set some rules.
Because I remember when you guys had 3, then you went into 4, then you're like, that's it, we're done. Then you opened number 5 and then number 6.
Yeah.
So I'm hesitant to believe that you're not going to open number 7 and 8.
I'm committed.
But yeah, you guys are definitely sleeping on this product, man.
Yeah. Like, we are so ready.
Every time I go to the supermarket, I'm just pissed off it's not there.
Yeah.
I have to go online and order
we got some big goals this year, and
Yeah.
that's like it's now just like bite the bullet and go deep on this and become a beginner and enjoy that journey.
So why do you not want to just play it safe and just stick to what you know and what you know works?
So I got caught speeding on a motorbike once, and I was going like almost 100 k's over the speed limit when I got pulled over, and then I got back and I called Roz, and because I lost my license, I'm like, I had to call her business partner at the time, and I was like very hesitant to call him, and I called him, and then I was like, this is what happened, and he goes, did you have fun? And I was like, what? And I was like, no. He's like, because you were fucking flying. Yeah. And I was just like, he's like, you don't sit around at the end of your life and tell all the times where you went to bed early or you had a really nice meal and then like nothing happened or you had an uneventful day. It's like the stories are those crazy moments in life where you're pulling at every end. And I'm like, that kind of like hit home with me. I was like, I just love extremes. So yeah, I think I just love the chaos.
Why?
I think life is interesting. You got one life. It's like, it just might be the way that we're built or the way that my life plan ended up or the way we ended up doing things. But it's just, there's beauty in chaos. And I think there's beauty in everything. And it's like when you've been around enough chaotic situations, you can see the other side of it. And you're not so scared or intimidated by it because life just goes on until it doesn't.
Do you think a part of you is trying to seek that next rush?
No. I'm also very calm. Like I spend a lot of time I chill a lot too. Like I love the rush, but I'm not addicted to it.
Right. What would you say if there were an addiction?
Which is probably very contradictory to
what you said. I was like, I don't know. Okay, so let me rephrase this. So, like, what would you say? Like, is like, what are you getting a dopamine hit from? Going back into, I guess, the realm of being the beginner and hitting a new industry that you've not got much experience in. Like, what is that you're seeking through that pivot?
I just think I'm becoming a better version of myself because if I'm doing something that I suck at, this is a part of me that's missing that I'm looking to grow or evolve into a new version of myself. I love learning skills. I'm just interested in things. So if I have the opportunity to do that, I've also identified that when I suck at something, I'm like, okay, this is a new task. Let's like game on. I love a bit of a challenge. Do you know what I mean? So I love getting in there nitty and gritty, and I think I think life is about experiences. It's like it all circles back to that same thing. It's like creating experiences, having experiences, living life to the fullest. Like I'm really down for that.
Yeah.
So I think, if I can thrust myself into that as much as possible, then for me personally, that's a great life.
I always love hanging out with you guys. You and Roz are
it's a blast.
Ball of energy. Every time you guys are in town or I'm in town, I'm like, gotta go see Roz and Toby. And we just got to see those guys, hang out with them, whether we're getting a toasty together, getting cocktails together. Just genuinely, man, like I see you guys as friends. I appreciate you both. I just love how you light up a room together. And yeah, what you're doing in the hospitality space is exciting. It's enthralling. And I think that the fact that you're kicking this new door in is going to be fun to watch. I just love it when you make content.
Yeah.
I think if I can nudge you, I think you need to make more content. But
we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about this later.
Good.
But dude, nothing but love for you and Roz. Also, thank you for my beautiful tiger gift that you guys brought in.
That's thoughtful, Roz. Again.
It's very thoughtful of you guys.
Yes.
No one's really brought me a gift before. So I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. And
dude, since day one, your whole team has been amazing. That's why, we love you guys too. It's been, a crazy experience.
Well, big love for you guys, man. We'll put some links in the chat for those that want to check out what you're doing, check out your locations. And if you're on the Gold Coast, they should definitely swing by and come see what you're doing. But from the bottom of my heart, man, big love. Appreciate you guys so much.
Really appreciate your time.
We'll have to get you back.